everyone, heads up, we're starting this week with what else but our big debate, the big face-off as we call it. And today we're looking at whether India gives its sports persons enough credit. Are we giving all those inclined towards sports enough credit, enough due? Is that happening, or are we still only talking about it? Too much action, too much words, too many words and too little action. Is that our problem on the ground as well? Well, with me, someone actually who would know it all, Nishant Tomar. He plays football. Also with me is Melvin. Melvin, in fact, not just does he teach football, he's also played it extensively, teaching at the Baichung Bhutia Coaching Institute. We're asking both of you, do we in India give sports persons enough credit? Nishant, you think that we do. You have 1 minute to explain why.
See, I would go for the topic, and my reason basically what to start with would be that now in today's time, the corporates and the big, as in the companies, they're now focusing on, rather than from cricket, the focus is shifting to the other leagues, like the hockey league has come up, the Indian Hockey League, also the football league, the football league is also coming up. So basically they're shifting from the cricket background and now promoting other sports that are more important as well for India, rather than just look at cricket, because hockey, as we know, is our national sport, but it's not as talked much than as cricket is. And also like the badminton league coming up, everything is now starting to, we see the bigger picture, we're seeing other sports also coming up alongside cricket. That's what I would say.
Right. Melvin, you disagree. I'm told disagree quite strongly. Why?
I disagree because on various levels. First thing is on the recognition front. Recognition, they get the recognition only if they have proved themselves to a level where they have actually performed internationally really well, and that's when we actually start recognizing them, start giving them grants to actually put in more money. Even the government actually starts putting in more money, or even providing them with the facilities to train. First thing. Second thing is the development facilities in India, especially since I'm working at the grassroots level, where I'm trying to teach kids from the age of 5, and it's really proving out to be really difficult. So a lot of convincing that goes into actually convincing parents on why we need to train them really early, so that we can match with the European counterparts, especially in football. And as a result since the structures are not in place for that, especially with school leagues and school tournaments and youth level tournaments and youth academies and investment that is not being done in the youth setup. That is exactly why in terms of the education front, on the youth development front, it is not being.
Your time's up, Melvin. Your time's up, but you made your point quite emphatically. I wanted to respond to that, Nishant, that unless you're making it really big, recognition at the local level is sort of barely noticeable. Is Melvin's point? Unless you really make it really big nationally or perhaps internationally, no one's going to sort of know. Perhaps the critics would say, leave cricket aside, but talk about, say, even sports that we're doing really well in, say badminton. You only know the stars who are suddenly shooting up.
I would say it starts gradually, like he said. Okay, he's also now coaching 5-year kids. Okay, but it's starting up now, I would say. In today's time, if you take 5 years back, or probably this wouldn't be the scenario. But at this present stage, they are coming up. Okay, and if you're known locally, then only you're going to go and get recognition beyond. Okay, it's going to start at some level. So this is what I feel, that it's starting at the local level. It's going to spread. If you're doing really well, it's going to spread. You didn't know PV Sindhu like 5 years back. You know her today. She also came from a very poor family. And Saina Nehwal, these are players. Yeah, now they are coming up and they are getting recognition because of their performances. Their performances now is taking them up where they are going. Like also Vijender Singh and in the boxing fraternity also. They are coming up. This is what I would say.
Right, Melvin, respond to that we didn't really know of, PV Sandhu earlier. We barely knew of Saina Nehwal a few years back, but they've sort of come from modest backgrounds, and there they are, right on top of their game, as it were.
But I have to actually like to ask you, how many PV Sindhus are there? I mean, how many people were actually there at the national level who did not get into that international level? That's what I'm trying to say. And how many of them we don't know about, who have been at the same level, who have been training with all the players that you mentioned about, and you never actually got into that level. What did we do for them? Most of them, a few of them must have been funded by maybe their parents. Actually, parents are a very big factor over here, because some parents really give their children all the support that they need to get it. But if they do not have the means to do it, what do we as in the government, or as in all of us as a society, do to actually support them? That is where
Would it be fair to say, Melvin, in your experience, that funding is where we're sort of let down the most?
Yeah, that's exactly. Funding is the biggest problem that we face, first thing. And then the second thing is that, especially if the corporates have to put in money, they have to see a system in place wherein a transparent system in place wherein the money that they put in is actually going to
used for the purpose that it's meant to. Right.
And it's not actually getting diluted to the federation where it goes into the pockets of a few people.
Right.
And these are the major problems that are being plagued in the sports industry right now.
Plaguing Indian sports. Right, Nishant, respond to that. The very fact that we're not putting in enough money, that it's not really a priority for most. While we want to talk about knowing who the next big ministries, who are going to be the ministers, in the new government, sports doesn't really figure as a priority. So how do you explain that if you believe that we do give them enough credit?
See, this is a topic like money is going to come up. Okay, money is generated. I told you, Indian Hockey League, my very first point was this, the corporates are coming into the other sports as well. Okay, they are funding them, they are giving them money. Some players do not, obviously to go into an international tournament, you need a lot of money to go there. And how are they going there? These players, I don't think so they would have enough money to go there. Obviously the funding is there. The camps, now media has turned its attention after the Olympics or before the Olympics. You see a lot of training camps being captured by the media itself. Like the boxing camp in Bhiwani, that was captured very well enough. Okay, so you are seeing the facilities there for the boxers, you are seeing facilities for the badminton players, you are seeing facilities for athletic players. They are facilities. You saw the good stadiums being come up. Infrastructure is also rising. I see the money is coming. It's going to come slowly. It's rising, and that's what I would like to say.
Right. Okay. Also, Nishant, my next talking point is there are all those parents who try and even now try and discourage their child from getting into a big sport. Unless it's cricket. They're sort of a bit reluctant. What will you do? Kahan jayega? What will you do next? Where is the money? What do you become? Unless you're a big hotshot cricketer. And perhaps it's a bit of a cliche, but the fact is that many parents would perhaps encourage talent in cricket, but would be a bit unsure if there's talent in other places. So how would you respond to that?
I wouldn't agree to that. See, there are a lot of cricketers, almost everyone in this country is born starts playing cricket.
Or at least an aspiring cricketer.
Yeah, is an aspiring cricketer. Everyone starts their journey through cricket, I would say.
Right.
Okay, but now as you've seen the scenario, only 11 get selected for the team.
Correct.
Or maybe 21 for the whole tournament. But I would say because of this thing that not many players getting emergence for cricket, I would say, and the emergence of big players in other sports, like Mary Kom in boxing and a lot of players in other sports. The parents are now basically focusing on other individual sports where you can harness your child's potential, like shooting, you would say. They're starting so early now, shooting. Tejaswini Sawant, a lot of players are now breaking records on television. You can see that every year. Olympics, you take Olympics for example, we're getting goals out of what? We're getting goals out of shooting. So that's what I would say.
Sort of the focus is shifting and parents. What is your experience, Melvin, since you're actually dealing with parents on
I would actually like to comment on the shooting part. I read the autobiography of Abhinav Bindra actually, and he actually, before the Olympics, he went for the camp, and in the camp there were facilities, and he was not finding it really up to the mark. So he made his dad actually build the facility in his own place,
right,
and that's how he practiced, and he got the medal. If it was not for him investing the money on his own, he's saying that maybe he would not have even got that. That is where the actually the problem in terms of funding is, especially.
But still, I would like to add to that, it's not just Abhinav Bindra. There are a lot of shooters that are gaining medals.
He's using Abhinav Bindra as an example to prove his point.
That's okay, that's one example, but there are a lot of other people who are gaining the respect and gaining...
I'm not saying that they are not gaining or anything, but I'm saying that the amount that we need to actually put in to get that gold medal, it was both his side and from the government, and personally he is also invested in it.
Right.
And if someone does not have that opportunity, then he is not able to do it, is all my point is.
And respond to his point about parents now being more open to other sports. What's your sense? You deal with them, so are they sort of thinking, yes, if my child has the potential, he or she can perhaps go have a career in this sport?
In my experience, my personal experience, we are running this coaching institute, and we are actually giving it out for a fee especially. And the parents are actually interested in making the kids also play, but at the same time, sometimes I hear of not sometimes, in the large majority of cases also, I hear that I won't be able to come for coaching today because he has a homework to do and he has tuition to attend. And the problem is the tuition is exactly what their main focus and the priority is. All right. And the problem is, the tuition problem is because the teacher is not able to teach in the school. And why? This is because they have to take extra classes. It may not be directly related or indirectly. The case is that they are not teaching them properly in the school. As a result, they have to take tuition, and it affects the playtime of the student.
And then I guess from the parents' point of view, you can't slip academically.
Yeah, you can't slip.
You might be very good in the sport, and they will perhaps encourage you, but you can't leave your academic behind. Do you believe, Nishant, as a society, we're still giving way too much importance to academics and sort of at the cost of other talent, other skills, other potential?
See, if you're gaining talent, if you have a lot of talent for sports, these things can be a little overlooked. Okay, at the end of the day, if you're after even retiring, now players are getting into coaching, and that's, I guess, is a very positive factor for our own sports culture, because players who already know how to play the game, and if they start teaching, and for his point also, I would like to say that parents are reluctant, but if the coach identifies the potential, and if the coach does the right work and makes the parents believe that if you put in the work, if you put in the potential, if you put in the hard work for him, then it can get you it can be fruitful for you and the country as well.
Right. Well, now we've sort of seen the kind of success that Nishant has talked about, be it boxing, be it shooting, be it badminton, tennis, etc. So do you think that it is perhaps all these examples, success in the Olympics, easier to convince parents that yes, just stay the course and they're going to be rewards?
Actually, there will be an issue when, let's say, what is the percentage of success is what we'll have to convince them with, right? So what if he doesn't make it to the boxing scene, Mary Kom, you're not at that level, you don't make it, what next? What will happen next? Do you have a backup option? That is exactly where the academics...
you cannot neglect academics,
that's
because
exactly
that is your plan B.
Yeah, that is your plan B, and then if that does
Nishant,
not have...
many parents would really agree with that. How many Mary Koms can we have? How many Sainas can we produce? And what if all those who are not sort of up to the mark there, they are very, very good, but they're not up to the mark, why can't we give them enough credit?
I wouldn't say that sports is just limited to playing. It's
Right.
a lot of other things as
Right.
well associated with sports that you can take up, I would say. Like a sports person, if he doesn't make it big, what can he do? He can be, there are a lot of other job openings according to that, I would say.
Right.
No,
We
actually, I
finally
would
are
want
in
to-
agreement here,
No,
you
actually,
guys.
I
right?
want to counter it slightly by saying that right now, the infrastructure, support structure does not exist for them to actually come into the coaching area also, because the licensing for coaching at the international level, for example, if you want to do football coaching, there are a few licenses that you need to clear and everything. That is not yet formalized in India properly. Even the All India Football Federation is just rolling out the process. So as it stands right now, I was working on the D license manual, which was the level 1 manual that you need for coaching. And that has just been rolled out last month.
I see. So
And
it's taken us all this while to get our act together there, you're saying.
There
So
you
we're
go.
just
That's
another
an-
proof that
we need
more proof.
there's a long way to go in that also,
Right.
because there's something called, there are different levels of coaching, and then there's like A license, B license, there's a pro level, and we have only 4 pro level coaches. It may be 4 or 5.
Sorry for the uninitiated, how much should it actually be for those of us who are
I'm
you know,
sorry,
not,
but there
not
we
sort
have
of
very
clued in?
small number of
You're saying
high
it's
level.
inadequate.
It's really inadequate for a
see.
country of our size.
Right.
Is what I'm trying.
And tell me one thing, while this might be inadequate, how do you see the potential amongst our youngsters? Where do we stand there as far as just potential is concerned?
As far as potential is concerned, I think right now we are, our economy is actually helping us in a certain way, that we have a bigger middle class right now, earning right now, they're able to send, the parents are actually thinking of it as a career, which is a positive sign. But if we react to it in a positive way, if the federations and the government and all the support structures, they build all the support structures to develop it in a particular way, only then will we have impact.
Right. Nishant, I'll give you the last word. I know that you believe that we're giving our sports persons enough credit, but what do you believe are the few things that we need to do perhaps a bit more to sort of make them feel that we are? Because while it's great to hear that, you believe that we are, but there are all those sports persons, who perhaps step back and say, no, this country can do a lot more. And of course, rightly or wrongly, it's always the obsession with cricket that comes into focus. But if I were just to ask you, what do you believe that we can do more?
See, as I say, since 5 years, 10 years back, the scenario is changing. It's developing a lot of positives out of it. Okay, be it the emergence of our nation, as you can see, the electoral part also for it, and a lot of other factors. We are gaining importance, we are gaining emergence, and now we are slowly and steadily we're taking it towards sports also. Okay, so a lot of factors that would be also Bollywood movies, as you see. There are a lot of movies being made on sports people.
I see.
Okay,
I see.
so
you're saying
so
putting it
we
sort of
are-
back in
yeah.
the front burner,
Yeah,
and movies on, like on
recent
hockey,
movie
for
was
instance, or
Hawaii
football.
on skating.
Right.
Not many people know about skating, but
Right.
they are trying to get it up.
Right.
Okay, sports is rising.
Right.
Sports persons are rising, I would say. So we just need to help them. We just
Right.
need to get the structure in.
Right.
So
What
I
better
think-
way to get the message across other than Bollywood, I guess? So
Yeah.
that would perhaps be
that is actually
that
the
would
best way
perhaps
to-
be the best way. Well, Melvin, Nishan, thanks very much for being on the program. Pleasure to have you on the show. What do you think? Remember, you can always write to us. You can tweet us, get on to our Facebook page or also our NDTV social page. You can reach us in any way that you want or is convenient. Well, we're slipping into a quick break now. Coming up after that, all that's making news online.